Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to No More Heroes. So I am in the middle of the fight. I am just about to win against Bad Girl. I didn't want to not show the cutscene. Now the problem here is certainly that my fingers are still sore. I've been doing this for at least an hour and 12 minutes. I played all last night for several hours. So this has taken probably 3 to 4 hours to beat this character. I decided to grind up and get the infinite energy on the Tsubaki, and the X charged attack has a lot of invincibility frames, which I've noticed has been helping quite a bit. But since I've paused the game, like the second I'm going to get back here, I'm going to get hit. And so the hope here is that we can use these guys as a way of doing some slash attacks against her. Like I've just been doing like pure X button pressing, and then when she's fired up like this, I'm doing like this for infinity frames, invincibility frames to attack her. And see, how you attack her there is different than this cutscene. The infinite energy doesn't really help you that much, honestly, other than the fact that you can just constantly charge up X slashes.
I will never lose.
I give up. You win.
Yes, I've won.
So, like, he totally kills her, as far as it seems. And this is the point where we're going to realize that our femme fatale character is totally missing, for real. Yeah, I was about to give up, frankly, on this game and use Cheat Engine. There is a very weird position that you're in with this game, particularly the PC port, in the fact that there was a bad version of this game originally. I may still very well be playing the bad version of this game, and under the Steam discussions you see a lot of discussions about how the baseball game is nearly impossible, and how there is more crashes, and we definitely have seen some crashes. In particular, we're getting a massive amount of money, but we'll still probably need more. Honestly though, even if this wasn't a bad port, even if it was a perfect port, the fact that the game lets you play on normal mode for the first time through is just a mistake. The fact that you can't increase your strength even more or increase your defense in any way is just a mistake. And the fact that there's just been so many boss fights where you don't really fight a boss, that as soon as they throw you a real boss fight, it becomes really, really difficult. Now, the danger certainly here is that this would crash, first of all, and second of all, that it would potentially also like not be any easier to fight the last bad guy that you need to fight. So there's nobody in here. The femme fatale lady, it just doesn't show up. We walk here and press A, and we see these two guys.
I am here to tell you that you are now officially ranked.
It's funny they give this guy a voice now.
Thanks. That was a close one. Almost didn't make it.
He could have been the guy on the phone this whole time.
Sir. Shit, that was close.
They need the second to last fight to be close, because that brings up the stakes on the first fight. And I totally was not prepared to start recording at this point, so I am going to totally have to pause the recording and just go to the bathroom. Basically, after I go to the bathroom in the game, I'm gonna have to go to the bathroom in real life as soon as we save. And then we'll do a regular episode. Yeah, I've never used Cheat Engine before, and I'm not looking forward to the day when I may have to actually use it. I'm not sure if that would get me banned on Steam. It probably wouldn't, but I can't afford losing my Steam account with thousands of games on it for one dumb game that's just too difficult for its own good. Let's see. Let's make sure we save over the right one. Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna pause recording and be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Let's hit B and exit out.
Hi, we're sorry to inform you that your video membership will be revoked until you return one of our videos. It's titled French Maid Cafe Spilled Coffee. Please return it soon.
Good morning, Mr. Touchdown. I wish you a pleasant journey.
So we need 550,000, which is not really that much. We may already even have that amount in our bank account just from what we won. I had a little bit of extra money, certainly, before. We're definitely not seeing anything from our French femme fatale. We haven't gotten all of the clothing or even all of the t-shirts. I did want to point out that in my investigation as to whether to give up on this game, less than 1%, yeah, that's how you would say it, of players have gotten all the achievements in this game. In particular, some of that comes down to the fact that you have to beat it on the harder difficulty than what we're playing now. So yeah, we're still missing 54 through 58 as far as t-shirts, and just still haven't bought a bunch of stuff. So there is potentially an argument to play on easy, unlock a bunch of upgrades, then play on the hard difficulty, assuming it unlocks if you beat the game on easy. Otherwise, you would play on easy, then play on normal, then play on hard, and that's asking way too much. The drawer looks different now because we have all three of the previous weapons. The Tsubaki Mark II, Tsubaki Mark III, and the Bloodberry that you started with. There's some more wrestling masks behind here. The other reason why you can't get all the achievements, or most people can't get all the achievements on the PC Steam version of this, is the batting practice missions. I wish, honestly, instead of mission results showing a map, that it would literally have a different mode where you could switch to a list. So like this one, Scorpion Extermination, I'd have to do again. This one I did multiple times, probably 6 or 7 times. Cats, we have gold. Let's see. Tiger Hall, number of kills 16. Pro Wrestling Contest, number of kills 7. Using the D-pad, you can move through this a little bit easier. Assassination 11, Pizza Butt, the finale. I could probably pull that off. Pizza Butt Returns. One of the things is if you can lose or exit out of some of these assassination gigs, you can then re-enter them without having to drive all the way back to the Assassination K Entertainment Bureau. But yeah, it would be definitely the baseball that would kill you here. If you can't get baseball 1, 2, and 3 at gold, and particularly if you just can't get baseball 3 at gold, you'll not get gold for all the assassination gigs. Thus, you'll have no chance of getting any of the other achievements. There's actually quite a lot of them still that have not unlocked in the game. There is also a achievement for killing like 512 random people, just some the minions. No new videos at the moment, and honestly that may take like two playthroughs to kill that many people anyways. Ideally, if we'll look at the heart when I do this in the top left, what you would want to do if you're going to do that kind of animation is that internal heart would be different colors of the rainbow, and that each color would shift out, if not better, fade out before the next pip goes away. So instead of it clearing all the white level to turn it to blue, to turn it to green, or however it actually works, I have no idea. Yeah, there's like ideally you would want at least one empty heart to show that, hey, you've taken a significant amount of damage. At this point, if I somehow missed the cards, I would not go back and get them. There's no way I'd do that bad girl fight again. We have 5 more cards to get. And no cutscene as we exit. I did notice when it loads, if you tap the A button, the spinning, I'll show it, the spinning like Santa Destroy star in the corner will go up and up, and it'll change eventually to an orange one. So there's this like sort of mini game in it that you can have. Alright. We need to investigate everything. If we could get one more wrestling move, that would be great. It doesn't feel like the story is fully finishing as far as the running gags that you keep not returning pornos. Thing you wanted hasn't come in yet. Yeah, seems like he's implying that something will come in, but maybe there is something, maybe there isn't. We didn't get any item that makes it seem like you'd get a Tsubaki 4 or new weapon. We can see some major texture pop in. Pop in and pop out. We'll see if Dr. Naomi has anything to say.
It's you again.
What, the new model, dumbass otaku? What's it look like? Of course it's not done yet. So apparently there is maybe another setup. So I had to spend a ton of money to get this infinite energy for the Tsubaki 3. Power 3 helped a little bit. I also had to go to Tiger Rydo and strengthen myself more to get a longer combo. It definitely would make a lot more sense if there was an easier way to enter this building. Something like maybe a back door, or just put that building in a smaller block. The motel is huge and you just don't really do anything with it. It frankly would make a little bit of sense for the entire motel to just have different rooms with different people in it that you would talk to and trade with. Let's see, let's run this way. We'll just check everything again. I imagine there's no Levikov balls and there's nothing more this guy can do for you.
What do you want?
Yeah. He is just forgotten about as a feature. There's a ton of features here that are just forgotten about. Although, compared to Killer 7, I will say, at least the upgrades here do seem to stick around and seem to matter, where a lot of the upgrades were really just changing stats as far as upgrading your damage and speed as a killer in Killer 7. So yeah, I had to do this dumbbell to extend the combo when I got the new weapon. So if I get a new weapon, I arguably will need to extend the combo a lot again, which I'm not sure if it really extended the combo. Most of the time when I was fighting Bad Girl, I would get a charged X slash and get 2, maybe 3 or 4 hits. If I dodged and then attacked with X, I would get 2 hits. It was very much not a cool experience as it was set up, in that you would get like huge 5-10 hit combos and you'd get dizzy and you'd do the wrestling moves. None of that was really happening. I imagine a lot more of that would happen playing on easy mode. But yeah, as far as what my experience was, it was just trying to do better than trading blow for blow. I'm not really trying very hard right now to press the A button, and I'm still getting that done fairly in the same amount of time, which probably highlights that a lot of times when I button mash far too fast for what the game really wants. It is very possible that most games, even though they will flash the A button, are not asking you to go as fast as it's flashing or faster, and they're very possibly not rewarding you for pressing the button any faster. The worst thing in Killer 7 is when a character died, you had to tap the A button pretty fast to revive them, but I was playing, I guess, on an easier mode. I chose the right difficulty in that case with Killer 7, so I never got into a situation where it actually felt like there was a chance of me not reviving the character, and I don't know what really would have happened if I didn't revive the character, whether it would have forced me to pick a different character or whether it would have just let me attempt a second time. I suppose if you got into a situation where you literally just could never push the button fast enough, you would then be out of options at that point and would just have to rage quit the game. But yeah, since that never happened, it wasn't really a problem. Here is the ultimate question to ask yourself. Do we possibly waste the 417,000 gold that we have when we only need 550,000? Do we waste some of that buying clothes?
Come on in, brother. Take a good look around.
Let's just get t-shirts, I guess. Some of these outfits clearly are just ridiculously like jokingly priced just to be more expensive. There's no rhyme or reason, it feels like, around it. Alright, this is all the way up to 58, so this would be all of the t-shirts. Let's see, boring children can be helped. Yeah. Most of these make absolutely no sense to me. They are either references or parodies of movies or bands or t-shirts that Suda51 probably has seen in Japan. Things that did not come over or would not translate. And you know, I've said that I would like potentially a cinematic version of this game where it takes out all the challenge, and that does basically have me suggesting that if you are very careful and use Cheat Engine, you can give yourself a lot of extra money and infinite health, where your health does not go down. And just giving yourself infinite health and not even the money is probably more than enough to severely improve your experience on this game, depending heavily on whether or not you want a massive amount of challenge or not. As somebody who didn't want the amount of challenge this game has given me, I would have been more than happy to have never died. All the times I died against Bad Girl didn't teach me to really be a better player by any means. It just frustrated me and caused my fingers to ache. There is, I suppose, a possibility here that there might be another weapon that would be even better than this. But there is also just a possibility that in these challenges you do something like this and you get as many invincible frames as you can, and then that lets you potentially kill multiple people. Although you can see there that it's still very possible to get hit, because while you may get invincibility frames in the slash, that doesn't protect you at all when you're not slashing or when you're out of charge. Noticeably also, it's worth pointing out that you don't get infinite energy for your boost on the car when you have an infinite energy for your weapon, or you don't get infinite energy for running around. But you might as well have given you those things. This guy's still calling me third class. Almost always in these scale systems, like second class seems to always be left out or not mentioned. Like I'll call games AAA games, and I'll call games single A games, but it's really hard in my mind to call something a AA game, and then there is confusion even in that terminology, because then I'll also call games indie games, and sometimes indie developers try to call themselves III games, as being something different, which I don't even know what that really means. And frankly, an indie developer can make a game that feels as good as a AAA game. It may not be as big or as well advertised, but it still can look or play just as well. Undoubtedly, I would guess this is the last mission to do a bike jump. So the fact that there is a ramp in there has to be justified now with the mission. Forgot to hit the A button and show that off. When you walk out of those buildings in particular, that helps you. So yeah, when I'm dashing here, that doesn't give me infinite energy. I think you have to start somewhere differently before you can jump. I don't think you can just jump. They wanted you to take one last glance at the flag, which doesn't mean anything. I guess the loading star is in the middle of the Santa Destroyer flag. Santa Destroy. Speed up and jump from the ramp point. Perform a well-timed wheelie. Jump to jump further. Okay. We have what looks like a breadcrumb system, which is annoying in that means there was a breadcrumb system this whole time. The thing here is you run out of speed and see, normally you just fall and it shows your cutscene, but that time it let you keep going. 2,539 yards gets you your gold, gets you 50,000. I imagine it doesn't matter if I went any further, you're probably only going to get 50,000 even no matter what. So not really a reason to do that multiple times. Hey, third rater, I've got another job for you. Something a little shadier, perhaps, but work is all the same. I sent an introduction to my associate. The road to becoming a first rater is long and hard. Get your butt in gear. So, in the sequel, which more and more I'm thinking about the sequel, and I do want to play the sequel at some point in the future, but I probably need enough time to forget about all the bad content I had to struggle through in the main game. Let's see if we can identify where the new free fight mission would be. It's kind of impossible to tell. I see two up here, two up here. Maybe that's new, but I don't think so. Maybe that's new, but I don't think so. Alright. So let's just do the assassination gig for now.
Hello, Travis.
So we got a couple assassination gigs left. Kill without taking a single hit from an enemy. It's a tough mission that requires all your skills. Single strike. Gig 19.
May you find your uppercut?
Alright, now watch in the lower right hand corner. See how the loading screen cycles through different colors the faster and faster you press the button? Of course, that is definitely going to be built around just how long it takes to actually load the game. And so if I was, for instance, not playing on an SSD, the loading could take a lot longer, and that would give me a lot more time to potentially tap a button. It's not giving you scores or points, so I don't think technically that would fall under the category of a game, so it's not a mini game in the menu, but it is an interesting way to tell the player, yes, your game has not frozen up, and that we are somewhat reacting to your input still. Although it would be very easy for a program, particularly a parallel processing program with multiple threads, to keep that working and still be stuck in another function. Right. If taking a hit fails you, then it might be best to just take success and like take a kill and just call it done. It also falls down. This is one of the problems also with the general idea of having infinite energy and potentially having the thought that that would help you. Like you can't defend against multiple people shooting at you. You can't do anything at all. It stops me from pressing A while I'm standing on this, so I don't accidentally just get back into it. I feel like it would have been smarter to simply have the spot stop responding to me pressing A until it fully loads back into the open world. And see, if I was to do a charge here, charging doesn't defend you. So yeah, it does seem to me like there's not really a system here that makes sense. One of the things is on harder modes, they attack more with their special attacks. So when fighting Bad Girl, or potentially even fighting with these guys, it is very possible that, wow, it is very possible that the enemies are just attacking with their gun attacks and special attacks way more than they would on easy mode. So I wouldn't hate a new game plus where I could potentially play on easy mode and choose easy mode after upgrading and playing on normal mode. Right. And see, if I do 2 minutes of just hiding and running away, does that do anything for you? No. Unlike Zelda, you don't have a attack here that you can charge and just like beam swing at people. So yeah, your infinite energy just doesn't mean anything. Maybe by running away you could convince one guy to chase after you. But yeah, you could wait until he reloads, and that would give you a bit of an opening, but it's not going to protect you from the other guys. So unless you were just going to nudge it forward a little bit to possibly consider getting that one guy to walk towards you, which he may just never walk towards you. He may be programmed to stay in that one spot, and eventually you'll just get close enough that the other person will shoot at you. And in contrast to Bad Girl, I found like a lot of her attacks often can be broken by just running into her face and hitting her once, or doing a charged attack to stop her from doing the batting practice on the gimps over and over again, but she still did that attack way too often. Honestly, the game is just not designed right. Unless there's some kind of bulletproof vest you get that prevents you taking damage from bullets. Yeah. And that didn't count as a victory either. So we'll give it like one more legitimate try, but we did not get a results screen. Alright. So maybe this is just a run thing. Well, obviously it's not so much a run thing. Definitely, in my efforts to desperately figure out how to beat Bad Girl, I tried all kinds of things as far as just like not locking on, just running two people and pressing the X button. If these were run and you can kill them in one hit attack characters, that might work. But I wouldn't believe that these minions are like that. No, there's no way you get close enough to them and run into them fast enough. And you can't run while you're at it. Alright, so side job, break, cancel the mission. Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Yep. Have we ever done this beach mission? Or is this the new mission? If this is the new mission, it's once again just repetitive to unlock this as a free fight mission right when the assassination gig is unlocked. Yeah, if you don't lock in, you'll just jump around a lot more, where locking in on a character keeps you focused on that specific character. These guys do seem like they don't have weapons, but I wouldn't be surprised if the first 6 or 7 of them don't have weapons, and then there's one guy that does have a gun at the end. Yeah, the spinning action, when I'm fighting these guys, I'm trying to take it kind of easy on that spinning action also, in that, yeah, alright, I give up. I don't care. I just don't care about these challenges. I don't think they're balanced. I don't think the game is playing fair. Very possibly they were never balanced in the first place for higher difficulties, or the PC port is to be blamed. Yeah. I suspect they just made the game harder when they re-released this for like the PlayStation 3 or Xbox, whichever, probably more for the PlayStation 3 than the Xbox, honestly. I bet they made it harder, and since it would have been the second release of the game, there weren't going to be a lot of voices out there of saying, hey, this game is too hard, because anybody that wanted to play the easier version of the game could almost certainly get a cheap used copy of the Wii version. Now, you're in this weird situation where very possibly the Switch version is also harder because it's based off the PlayStation 3 port.
Travis, welcome.
But maybe not. Maybe the PlayStation 3 version is more based off the Wii version and is still pretty easy. Of course, a lot of this can potentially a lot of this could potentially also just be beat around the PC port exclusively, and all the other versions are actually easier. So we're going back to the baseball stadium one more time. See if we can pull that off. It is incredibly annoying to see that there was a breadcrumb system and they just didn't bother to use it or program it for any of the other locations, when it would have made a lot of sense for there to be some dots pointing you in the right direction towards your mission. Even if those breadcrumbs that they chose to animate didn't look particularly good, and it would have been probably better if they had a floating destroy star above them. I also, it's worth mentioning, in the couple of times that I exited and re-entered the stadium to fight Bad Girl, each time I had to fight the minions on the playfield, and a couple of times I did totally stay on the bike and just run over them, which was much faster of an experience. This really feels like they are just reusing this area. And this area to fight in is like the worst of the areas, possibly. They're gonna throw more at me. They just wanted to reuse this area, reuse the gimps. But it's a bad area because of these batting cages. You can see just how wide an area of effect you have with the katana, where you're hitting people behind you and all of that. On top of that, you hit people all to the side. But this area is also bad to fight in because you have this, and then you have this whole section, and there's just nothing here in this pit of goo that makes the most amount of sense. You're hearing this robotic sound effect, and I don't know what the deal with that is because I have like full energy. Made more progress towards getting gold and assassination gigs there. That got me 90,000. But 90,000 is not as good as the other mission, so definitely will want to do the other assassination gig. Can't even jump over the Moa heads. The Moa heads, by the way, not playing any role in the game at all, just some weird, I have to assume, Suda51 element. It's kind of funny because when you compare this to like Lollipop Chainsaw, you have to just assume Suda51's ideas were used incredibly sparingly, because that game, even in being a weird game about a cheerleader fighting a bunch of mutant zombies in boss battles and fighting a bunch of zombies in general, it just doesn't get that crazy. There's one silly gameplay mechanic in which you use zombie heads as basketballs, that I recall in Lollipop Chainsaw, but that is it. There aren't 10 different side games and then several different assassination type gigs. There's no open world in Lollipop Chainsaw. I really can't wait to see the remake of it or remaster of it come out. I think it's very possibly a remake. It may very well just be a remaster. They have shown so far, very recently as they're teasing it, that let's see. I'm looking for the one that is in Gold Town, which is this one, number 18. Like they've shown how they're gonna reanimate Juliet, and yeah, they've redone it so she looks better and like more modern of a 3D model, but they really so far have not drastically changed the way she looks. By far the best way to grind I've found is to just run the K Entertainment, then start that assassination gig when you have it, number 18. Run here, press A, spend 3 minutes hacking and slashing these guys, and you'll get about 110,000 extra LBs. But unless you defeat the number 1 ranked person and get like probably much higher than a million LBs, you still wouldn't have enough LBs to win or purchase everything. There is something to be said about possibly pacing yourself when doing this challenge, so it lets more enemies spawn in, so you can get bigger groups and possibly bigger chains. You are getting gold as you do these fights, so it is paying you doubly, as it were. But I would also say save your thumbs and don't go crazy spinning the right stick, or I'm using my thumb when I'm spinning the right stick. I'm not going crazy with it and spinning it with the palm of my right hand like I was when I was fighting Bad Girl. It just doesn't require that much spinning. It seems like when doing this, you potentially will cause more to spawn in if you walk backwards and forwards. But there does just kind of seem like there's also a limit of how many enemies can be on screen at once, which creates this situation where you might very possibly kill everybody on the screen and then have to wait a second for it to refill. The fact that you have infinite energy does not change this fight much at all, and the Tsubaki Mark II does seem like it just kills a little bit faster. So I don't get the 90 kills that I was getting with the Tsubaki Mark II, instead staying closer to 60 or 70 kills. I think a lot of that also comes down to how much he just flares and swings the katana around in a flashy fashion. So if I could get the Tsubaki Mark II attacks, which are faster animated, they at the level of damage of the Mark III, that would be the ideal situation. But yeah, this is basically all you could do to grind in the entire game. You certainly could do other missions and struggle towards that. I'm still making progress towards killing 512 people. I don't know why 512 would be picked. 512 is kind of a odd number, or 510 maybe. It probably is some kind of reference to Killer 7 that I'm just not familiar with. 512 is like 2 to the power of 9, where 2 to the power of 8 is 256. But that's still kind of an odd number because, well, I got up to 93 there. If you're using an 8-bit number, 512 is above that. If you're using a 16-bit number, you're only using the very first digit on that second. I think they're called bytes, or bits of a byte. Yeah. Alright, and that's all the grinding I really needed to do. So, with perhaps the exception of running around and trying to see if the beach fight was the new fight. I don't think there's anything else to do, unless I'm forgetting something. Let's see. Well, part of the problem here that all definitely would come about is if I come over here and think that maybe the free fight is somewhere over here. I don't know why it would be over here. That's one of the newer free fights. Until I finish the free fight, it wouldn't show up on the map in the hotel. So I'd have to walk out of the hotel if I was going to be particularly certain about it. Look at the overworld map, see where all the free fight map points are being marked on the overworld map, and then walk back into the hotel and try and compare it. Ideally, after that free fight jump to, yeah, this is just a basketball court fight, which is an interesting idea, but it doesn't particularly connect to anything because you don't ever play basketball or fight anybody that has basketball things. It would make just as much sense to fight in an alley, or just as much sense to fight in a car lot or a gas station or on the grass. In some of the Lego games, once you've 100%ed the game or gotten close to 100%ing all the storylines, they give you fountains of Lego studs, which are the currency in Lego games, and that you can just collect an infinite amount of studs if there's anything left for you to purchase. Although sometimes that unlocks after a point where you'd likely have already collected everything anyways. It severely depends on whether or not you get the stud multipliers unlocked in Lego games. If you don't play with those, you definitely wouldn't be able to unlock everything. My point there being that after getting the jump the ramp prompt, if every time you jumped the ramp it gave you another 50,000 gold or so, and you didn't have to start a mission, that might be a little bit faster as a way to grind. It definitely would demotivate a lot of players to do any of the other missions, and they desperately want to try and motivate the players to do a lot more of the missions. It does seem fairly possible also that the femme fatale lady has just taken your money and run with all these stipulation fees. You're just paying more and more money to a lady that blows hot and cold on you.
Why didn't I call this number in the first place? Hello?
Hello? May I ask who's calling?
This is the Assassins Association, right? Look, I gotta talk to you about...
Oh, dear. She's done it again, hasn't she?
Hey, are you listening?
Excuse me for asking, but are you by chance an assassin?
Whoa, don't tell the whole world.
Then you have been had, sir. You are not her first.
What? Run that by me again.
Listen to me. Do not get involved whatever you do.
Listen, lady, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Who are you anyway?
Another sorry kid. And for the record, I am Sylvia's mother.
Mother?
Yes, you heard me. And there's no such thing as an association, or whatever you think exists.
You're joking, right? Do you know how many people I've killed?
She is a professional con artist.
You mean a fraud? Are you telling me this was all just bullshit?
She set everything up. Would you mind telling me how far this all went?
I'm now second in rank.
So, just one more to go. Alrighty. Why not play along since you've come this far?
Are you serious? What's the point? This is all some make-believe charade.
But a good man finishes what he started. Fight to the end. Your most formidable opponent awaits in the castle. Now, off to the Garden of Madness.
That's exactly what Sylvia was always saying. So, yeah. The whole thing was a scam, which, no duh, at a certain level. Even if it was legitimate and that there was just a lot of potentially rich people involved, it's still not like an assassin association could be a legitimate business that pays its taxes and is endorsed by a government. Particularly if the Assassins Association really did exist. Why aren't they filming the fights? That would sell for a lot of money, and yet we don't see any cameras anywhere doing that. Nor do we see rich people on the sidelines, like taking bets or watching. That inherently means everybody else that we've killed up until this point is also a victim and has been scammed by Sylvia. Assuming what the mother said is true, it is totally possible that that was just a ruse or a con. But it's not even a good con because it wouldn't take that much to hire somebody to answer phone calls and not give your mother's phone number out, or just give out a random phone number. It also inherently points out that every single other assassin was just so dumb to not call that phone number on the business card either. So we have everything between 46 and 58. And then 59 is when we started to collect things. So there is a possibility that we beat the game and that unlocks a 100 t-shirt. There's still a lot of money that could be spent on other outfits. Yep. At a certain level, since you know there's a No More Heroes 2 and 3, you have to know that the association sort of kind of exists. It comes into its own existence. It wouldn't be the first time I've seen a story where a con turns itself legitimate just because it's so successful. It's not the worst thought as a con, having people kill each other and taking the prize money for it. They seem to be taking a lot of money. But yeah, you know in No More Heroes 2 you're going to at least follow the story of Travis Touchdown. Although maybe not a direct sequel, it might be more that he wakes up and it's all a dream at the beginning of No More Heroes 2. These picture pop-ins are kind of cool, but they don't really mean anything. I guess it highlights how much you would ignore the technical marvel that this map would have been on the Wii, because on the Wii you would have been pointing the controller that would have turned into like a mouse pointer type device, and you would have been scrolling and panning and zooming on this map by just pointing at the screen. And yeah, that's a cool technology. I wish even now that there were like PC equivalents of that worked well or made sense. It's a gimmick technology, unfortunately, and that became very highlighted with the just massive amount of shovelware that got put on the Wii. Yeah, there's one free fight here I never finished, and so anything you didn't do is not on this map, which effectively makes the map useless. Just totally useless. Let's, I guess, check the telephone.
There are no messages.
Yeah, no reason to ever even check the telephone, it seems like. Because There's just nothing there. There's... Yeah, when you have nothing, you might as well emphasize what you do have a lot more and leave more on the cutting room floor. Honestly, if this had been a 5-hour game and it was just the boss fights and everything else got cut out, that's probably a better thought than doing what they have done, which is stretching and stalling for time. One last petting of this crazy cat. And yeah, a lot of things like the animation of the cat there probably felt like they would only take a day, half a day to animate. But that's even if you thought it was only going to take an hour, that's an hour that could have been spent on focusing in on the main game. It seems like obviously there would be 5 more cards to collect. Making so many different toilets in the game. There's an achievement for going to every toilet in the game, which I haven't gotten, so I assume that does mean we still have some progress to make. But yeah, the custom 3D modeling of toilets only seems to make sense if you were doing that for some other much bigger game. And here we have a different animation. One of those nuclear fallout characters stealing your bike. Which doesn't that just mean they are going to force you to run? And man, if you didn't have that running mechanic, then you wouldn't be able to do anything. You should probably check the map and see where that #1 spot is. Alright. Yeah, it's taking us back down that direction, which, yeah. I guess the question to check is just to see if we've got another Naomi or video to buy at this point that might help us, because there is a decent chance you could have come at a better time. Not gotta believe your eyes. I got through Swedish route in Scandinavia. Take your pick. Yeah, there's literally nothing new there.
Don't get yourself killed.
If I could get an upgrade to help me, I should probably take it. Now the story pretty obviously lays out that this probably isn't our last fight, because we need to deal with Sylvia potentially conning us, or Henry showing up. New model's not done yet. So yeah, it does seem like if there is a new model at all to get, it's very possibly going to unlock after you've defeated the #1 ranked guy. While I am running kind of in a different path in different directions, I still would be running at this point. And almost every player will have had some of this experience before, which they run around over the place. I'll skip checking the bar with the Russian guy and the Levikov balls and just check to see if there's maybe a strength upgrade, because yeah, it does seem like there's room for one more strength upgrade. And that could be very helpful.
Oh, yeah, that.
The fact that you have to click training to get to a different menu to click training really highlights that they didn't really try that hard to optimize the menu. Would have made more sense if the first menu had all the training selection options and then it jumped to the second scene, faded out, faded into the gym, instead of fading out to the gym and then selecting the training, and after selecting training once before. None of these menus have much of a selection there. It's Area 51 has the most selection in having four categories between. Can you get in here, or is this literally just not popped in? Yeah, you can't get in there because there's a fence there, and yet there's a texture pop-in bug here that really just should not be happening. There's no reason that getting closer to a texture should make it blur and pop out, pop in. It's like coming to the left will show the fence, and then coming to the right stop showing the fence. And when the fence is gone, you see that the wall behind it is really just a solid green panel of color. Although again, doesn't matter how many visual glitches they potentially fix, it would be nice if they were fixed. And that's not going to solve the bigger problems. The biggest problem here is you needed something to warn you off and scare you away from playing it on normal mode the first time, probably to the point where you should have been forced to play it on easy mode the first time, no matter what. Do I want to do this mission? Have I done this mission before? Yeah, forget it. So this feels like this is getting you pretty much to the end of Santa Destroy.
Welcome to my castle.
So seems like you can't use it seems like you can't really do anything here, and the general idea is probably to, like, you can jump with the right trigger, you can accelerate with the left trigger. Seems like these guys will hurt you, and anything you hit does reduce your damage. So generally, I guess I'm just trying to kill as many of these guys as possible. This guy is behind me, and I guess maybe if I slowed down a little bit, they would catch up. But I don't know if there's a benefit to slow down that much. They have exactly one line of dialogue, it seems like. I took a lot of health out to take one guy out. That's not worth it. Who knows how many of these we really have to kill, and I have to just assume that there's no health or battery. You wouldn't even need battery to get any kind of like collectibles or anything like that. Clearly there was a thought here that there would have been more travel like this. Although you can definitely also feel how this is not a game that is smooth enough to actually control a motorcycle. See, in that time he attacked me from behind, and that seems like that always hurts you. So I guess the idea is to let them get ahead of you. I'm doing the right trigger to jump over those trees. And now we have a very different type of road, in that we have these trees on the side. That was another thing that was a big deal about defeating Bad Girl, is just managing your health. So if we get to a point where we have to fight Dark Star and we don't have a way of actually defeating him, like this very possibly is just like the old lady. In that he is just killing you. And then you have an instant kill, so yeah, that sucks. And no hints here at all. Honestly, I'd say for any game, it's a mistake to have characters from something completely different in your continue screen, because that certainly starts you on the mind of, wouldn't it be nicer to be playing this other game instead? I particularly think when you have such a drastic different animation style, such as these early Moe character designs, or I would almost call it proto-Moe animation style compared to what is called now, although maybe you would just call what Moe is now should be called Neo Moe, as a new generation of Moe. But yeah, at a certain level I would really probably enjoy a action game where you're playing as Moe girls, or at least it would be interesting to look at compared to some of the low polygon garbage visuals of like the trees that we're seeing right now. Right. So yeah, you have to hold A to accelerate before you can boost. But yeah, you look at the, I don't know how many we have to actually kill, or if this is really just a distance thing. I wouldn't be surprised if this really is just a distance thing. Now, because you only have so much boost, you can only kill so many enemies at a time anyways. I have no idea where the trading cards are going to come as far as this happens. Yeah, because the side, oops, so you can start be set on fire too. Because the side areas are changing, that there obviously is a specific distance you're traveling here. So arguably, since we know this isn't being moved forward by the number of kills, you should just try to stay as far ahead as possible. There's clearly a lot of rubber banding going on here as far as characters being given speed bumps, so you're being slowed down. Yeah, I think when you get these two guys out, you might have a different situation where it is actually impossible to speed up and knock these out. Well, so much for that thought. Fairly easy though to like bump into walls, bump into things you're ramming, take that extra damage. And then you get into a different experience. Like yep. They basically stop at that point and then shoot for this, which again, this is so much just a cheap shot, barely enough room there to be on the side there. Alright, so at this point what it wants you to do is to basically shift up gear with the left trigger when you're at the 12. I assume it's at the 12. Yep, and then you get button prompts to go forward, and because you're holding the A button, at that point you will get the skipped prompt, undoubtedly. So we are just now in a dead forest, military prison wall type experience. Card number 46. We need 4 more of those. Let's look at the map. We're at 64% health. And there's a left and a right. I can't help but feel like this might have been influenced by Metal Gear Solid. There was a section of Metal Gear, one of the Metal Gear games, where you let's go the wrong way and see what happens. The ghost of your master, who is not written as a character that you'd really care anything about. Okay, that just resets you, which it may not be a mistake, a big problem, because by doing that, that does potentially let you get your health back up to 100 now. The idea of him being a big character needed him to be the guy bringing your motorcycle, needed him to really play a role. Now I guess I'm probably gonna fight more people in this like forest of ghosts, and yeah, we're getting like a weird music cue here. We may end up fighting the ghost of... Nope, these are just minions. And they are strong, to say the least. Like, that took way too much of a combo. Like, if you're having to get a full clash, I feel like my ghosts guy was there and then disappeared. Alright, well, we'll just go to the right and see what happens there. I doubt it's gonna let me die. It may just straight up reset me. I bet it is always gonna be the same forest fork. Yeah, a charged attack there doesn't work so much. And that time I did see my samurai guy, my sensei, point the other direction. We refilled our health, but there is a decent chance you won't get that refill again. We need 3 more collectibles, and so one of the things definitely to always do would be to turn around. The fact that... So yeah, I can do like a charged attack that way. He's saying to go the other way. Three of those. And we'll take some health refill. So yeah, I don't know if a charged attack, even in this case, really is going to benefit you enough. Or just prevent you from taking extra damage. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything I can really do here. Like either get a really lucky charged attack or try to get that slowed down time so I can do something like that. And notice that when I did that, I got 3 slot machines instead of just 1. Because I guess killed 3 or more people. Right, we need 1 more trading card. And that refilled my battery, which that's not helpful since I already have infinite battery. If I didn't have infinite battery, these guys would be killing me and causing me a lot more trouble. Yeah, you would be struggling really, really hard. I guess this means we won't get a phone call message from Sylvia. And instead we just have a letter, which we've been getting these letters from Sylvia this whole time. Travis, that path of men is not path of beasts. Do you understand? You know the edge can be poison or cure. To be learned is the path, and to be learned is the path, and to be ignorant is also the path. Your path is that. A path that nothing can pass, yet the path goes on. Devotion is only given to those who perfect single thing. Reward, then. I imagine in Japanese this probably doesn't make any more sense, but sounds cooler. No reward those who do not perfect. Does a reward or just evil lie down your path? Fight until you die, Travis. Thunder Ryu. Alright. So, honestly, at that point I probably should have gotten an achievement for getting all of the trading cards, but I guess it's not going to unlock until later. We are now running down a straight path that looks really long. Hey, it is a walk and talk.
Travis, can you hear me? It's Sylvia. I never thought you'd make it this far. But I am sorry. I cannot see you anymore. I want in your arms. I want to be with you. I want to share my life with you, no matter the cost. Meeting you, I felt truly alive for the first time. I mean that. But feelings and reality are two different things. Life is not that simple yet. Now, be honest. Did you really think I would let you do me if you hit number 1? You really are an idiot, aren't you, Travis? Come back to reality. I mean, look at yourself. You are a dopey otaku assassin. The bottom of the barrel. No woman would be caught dead with you unless she was a desperate bitch. Where in the world could you find a woman who could fall in love with someone like you? Well, one is right here. It was fun, Travis. I love you. Now, don't forget to use the restroom. Trust your force and head for the Garden of Madness.
I guess we may very well just be heading to the Garden of Madness there. I don't know if I actually maybe cut her off there by walking too close. No, I don't think so. There's still a lot of way to thing. And yeah, Sylvia comes off as, I think, just kind of crazy. And for a Wii game, this probably looked fairly nice, but it's not very green. It's not very well lit, so you can't really see anything here compared to modern games. And this really is just a lot of copy and paste forest elements that were noticeably not in existence in the rest of the game. It probably would have helped if there was something else in existence in the rest of the game. I don't think we're getting any more wrestling moves. You potentially could have had a situation where this whole thing was just a dream happening in Travis's mind. I don't think they go that direction. There you have a toilet outside, which this may be the last toilet in the game if you were trying to use all the toilets in the game. The gimmick of using toilets never used in any other game, where it would have kind of made some sense. Although I could see just having doors that say restroom and walking in them and it fading to black to save. But yeah, the whole system or idea that he could just convince her to sleep with him if he became a #1 ranked assassin was always stupid and crazy. Saying the guy is dopey, I mean, there are definitely some comedic bits that show him as being kind of dopey. Here we can see there's just a nice sea view. At the very beginning of the game, we also saw a nice sea view with a luxury liner in the distance. They didn't do anything with that. It probably would have made more sense if we just went full circle and we're back at Heavenly Sword's mansion. Like, none of the assassin characters you fought are really as cool as they think, and Travis is not as cool as he thinks, obviously, but him being an assassin in this world doesn't even seem like a big deal. Dopey, I think, when he looks cool enough, certainly, I wouldn't see him awful. He's hardly like a 300-pound pimply-faced otaku who never leaves his basement. They call him an otaku, but his obsessions are fairly varied, and he does display them in his motel room, probably too much, and is somewhat childish about that, sure, but he's hardly what the Western people would have thought of as an otaku who would only talk about anime and anime nothing. He literally says the word moe once, and that's it. If that had been his slogan at the beginning of each fight, if he was doing like a Naruto run, which Naruto may have not been as popular when this game came out, or if he was just doing really dumb things like that, that would be weird, and it would just clash with the assassin part. Sure, he does have this like pompadour, I guess is what that hairstyle haircut that makes him look like a wannabe Japanese biker gang member. But yeah, the idea of them calling him a dope when there's nobody else cooler in the entire game to even look at. Like, every character you see in Santa Destroy seems like a dope. Even Sylvia seems kind of like a odd dopey character in that she's always in that French art style, showing a bra and doing the French from Fatale thing. And then the hot and cold bipolar or split personality, I would say, nature of her is weird. Like she's just teasing you the whole time. I mean, we're about to see Darkstar. He's almost certainly going to be more dopey. So apparently there's just a road that leads to a castle of some sort in the middle of nowhere.
Welcome to my castle. I heartily receive you, my son.
All right, enough with the jokes.
A joke? You don't remember me, Travis. I am your true father. Blood does not make such mistakes.
Jeez, you are full of it, aren't you?
So maybe this is the guy who killed Shinobi's father. Which, by the way, Shinobi had an instant kill. I'm not sure I showed that off. There's a couple of people that do have instant kills if you get unlucky. Like Bad Girl.
This is just another story.
Even if you were my father, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters here is who's best.
Remember, son, engraved into your memory.
The animation looks terrible for that glow.
I fell to my feet right before my son's eyes. Do you not remember this?
In my deepest memories, I hear someone calling. I remember. It was a hot summer
So,
day.
getting backstory at the
Someone
end of the
standing
game.
behind my father and mother. That person
That's a
killed
totally
my
different
parents.
animation
The
style.
face, I can't make it out. Who are you?
Remember,
Who are you?
try harder.
Well, that looks more like Sylvia.
I can see it. Almost.
Do you recognize the face?
Now I remember everything.
Or is that you?
Well done, son. She was the girl you loved.
You're still as gullible as ever, Travis. Think, why would he be your father?
I guess you're right. I don't have a father. At least not anymore. You killed him, didn't you?
Yes. And that's why you became an assassin. To kill me.
Now I get it. All those fights. It was for this. I lost everything that I ever cared about.
So he's just been
Bitch took everything.
crazy this whole time.
I can help you to get even.
She's a good con artist, that's for sure. She set up some killer fights.
So you and I finally meet. You should thank Sylvia.
Jean, there's just one thing I want to ask you. Who are you?
Me? You don't need to know. All of your trivial questions will be answered in the afterlife.
Answer me!
It's impossible.
Impossible! What do you mean?
It's too terrible. It alone would jack up the age rating of this game even further.
So what? Who cares?
What if the game gets delayed? You don't want this to become No More Heroes Forever, do you?
All right. I'll fast
Duke
forward
Nukem
this so you can
Forever.
tell me.
Okay. I'll make it short and quick.
You are my half-brother. You know that manga called Miyuki? The Japanese one? Well, it's like that. Your father abandoned my mother to run off with your mother. It broke her heart beyond repair. She killed herself. Knowing I had nowhere to go, he took advantage of me. Ever since I can remember, she molested me. We lived in this rotten apartment, and I was his slave. Every day I cursed his soul. I swore that I would kill him one day. The cursing didn't change anything. That's when I decided to become a killer. With no money to pay for training, I paid with my body. But to you, I bet that son of a bitch looked like a hard-working family man. That was all an act. He didn't give two shits about cleaning up my life. So I decided to clean it up myself. That's why I do what I do. And I got what I wanted. killing him in front of your very eyes.
That's my story.
Imagine that. You and I.
You can basically understand what she is saying. Slow down the video, and
Maybe
and
it
it's
had to be
word to
done,
word.
But vengeance begets vengeance.
You're right. Go ahead.
So she's your half
Draw.
sister
All of your sorrows end today, Jean.
out of nowhere. Wouldn't it have made way more sense to write this story instead of joke about writing this story? Okay. So Jean is our true final enemy, and we have this like dragon character. We have no idea what moves to do. She seems fast and doesn't have a sword at all, and yet has powered attacks. Like she's just dodging left, right, and it seems to me like if you try to do a wrestling move on her, she'll do a wrestling move on you. It may very well be a case that I have to get dodge actions first before I can even land a blow, which that's not out of the way of the way you fought Bad Girl. So the thing I would like to see potentially with like a No More Heroes 2 is, man, it really is just nothing. Like not able to hit a single blow on her. Is for them to really look at No More Heroes 1 as almost like a prologue demo around what the story should be, and for them to establish Jean as a character that you're actually chasing after, get past the idea of random assassins attacking you for no real reason, and instead perhaps working for Jean, fighting on her behalf. It's like, man, I don't know what in the world to do here. Like, everything is telling me to run away, get some distance between you, charge maybe, and see if you can do that. You do have some invincibility frames if you can get a charged attack. But I'm almost certainly going to have to lose here just to get some hints as to what I'm supposed to be doing. Obviously, I'm hitting B button to do the wrestling moves and that's not working. Maybe I need to get her spinning and then, like, get behind her. It would kind of make some sense for you to just straight up lose there. And see, here's the thing is, I'm gonna try and like run over here and get some extra health, and we'll take the battery too, and that will do nothing really. I've barely moved her meter down a little bit. Alright. So I think this is just gonna heavily be around timing. Yeah, it seems like you can knock her off of her own attack patterns somewhat, but not to any level that would be that helpful. Yep. Ideally, if you were going to just change this slightly in a better way, I would think you would have something that would hint towards something happening to the parents at the very least, and throughout the game, and then surprise the half-sister being the person, the bad guy who attacked and killed the parents at the very end. For a second there, it kind of looked like Sylvia was the killer of the parents, and you could definitely have teased that too. Man, just like nothing is working here. And as long as I'm getting exactly 0 hits in, and she's getting 1 hit in, eventually it will become eventually she will just win. There's only so many buttons that you can even really press, so unless it's possibly just don't bother to lock on and then just press the button. Not being locked on stops you from being able to dodge and stops the camera from really centering around the character. So yeah, you cannot use throw attacks on Jean. Kinda had already figured that one out. Game. So yeah, you could start with a charged attack. She's not even choosing to attack you here. See, I don't know if that did a single hit to her. I think the move is to probably double dodge and then come in for a swing when she's already attacked, and to not go for the combos, because it seems fairly obvious that if the combo misses, you can't do any damage there. This may also just be a case where the spinning action is just too difficult on difficulty mode. There is an element, certainly, that's worth being mentioned as far as I feel like Y may be working a little bit better there. Or at least making a little bit more progress. But it does seem like it is just, you gotta dodge. You gotta dodge these attacks fairly well. Yep. Now, assuming she doesn't go into some kind of super move that I didn't have to learn when her health is down towards the halfway point or further, we might be able to pull this off, which is good because I don't want this to turn into a nightmare scenario once again where I have to play off screen. Slash, and then we'll slash again. So now the dragon is closing in the area smaller. She does just like to move all over the place. Yeah, I'm just heavily relying on right stick dodge, which doesn't really take into account dodging with the left as much as it does feel like it takes into account dodging with the right. Get a couple of hits in there while she's charging her attack, but I don't know what else I can really do there. Yeah, perhaps a lot of these fights would have played a lot better if I had managed to get behind the characters more. It doesn't feel like when you have that time like her outfit is definitely a bikini, you can't get around that, so the ring gets smaller. She is jumping all over the place, and being on the ground when you're jumping all over the place certainly isn't going to work. So this very possibly is just going to be like health management. To reduce the amount of damage you take while increasing the amount of damage you're dealing. At a certain level, I might be able to pull this off, and ideally for storyline reasons and just for the gameplay experience reasons, it would be nice if this was the first, like, an easier battle. She said she killed my parents and something else, I wasn't paying attention. The fact that you never get any kind of upgrade that speeds up how they get up faster is weird. My finger definitely killing me there. The problem here is how much this is going to obviously just be that we're close to a victory, but unless I can get a major combo going on her, she's going to do something like that. Take advantage of Jean's overconfidence by attacking when she taunts you. It sounded like she had taunted me exactly once in that, so maybe on easier mode she taunts a lot more. Her outfit though isn't like really that revealing. None of the other outfits in the game are particularly revealing at all, I would say. See, now, if you want to do a charged if you want to do a charged attack, you're only going to have a couple of opportunities to do that. There is definitely just an unfairness of like how some of these attacks take out a lot of damage, or they deal damage no matter what, despite your best effort or your best attempts to dodge. I'm very possibly not waiting long enough to try and bring in more of a time slowdown mode, but definitely it seems like some of these dodges are right on the number as far as these time slowdown modes, so I just don't think the time slowdown mode happens that often. Noticeably though, you're not really getting the kind of combos that I feel like I got when I played this on easy or on the Wii version. And I think I beat this game. I think I fought this character. I don't think there's any new content that's been added for the port. So that's a point where she taunts. So does that mean I should run towards her and attack? Nope. See, she does that like double attack. If you want to go in there and actually hurt her, then you're going to end up getting hurt. I guess maybe there's enough of a move to like hit her once and then dodge out of the way. This is not too different from fighting Bad Girl. It's just like stay back, avoid damage at all costs, then get the 2 or 3 hits you might get after they do their attack. Like any of the like jump attacks or anything are not going to really help you. And see, what she's talking there, she's still fighting, so if that is a taunt that is supposed to be an opening, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. You would think that there would be a visual aspect to a taunt and not just have them say something. What would have worked better in this game is if there was just a maneuver to dodge around people a lot more, or jump over the heads of people. There very possibly needs to be like a second action that would get you behind characters. I don't really have a lot of faith that maybe there is a thought here where you need to get to the left or the right to dodge this character. Let's just see. It may be a case that I am getting too close and I should maybe keep some distance. That definitely felt like that just opened a whole world of pain on me. One more hit. And pretty much every time I die, it is like that, where they just get one hit off in the middle of an attack. Blocking the attacks prevents you from striking back right away, evading, then blocking to fight more effectively. Is this a hint that could have been useful throughout the entirety of the game? Very possibly. Yeah, what I would have done is hinted at the death and had some childlike drawings in crayon that were made by Travis instead of the wrestling move masks. I would have eliminated the wrestling move mask concept completely from the game, since it doesn't make any sense. Or I would have just had it be part of the training aspect. Interesting. I don't know if I can really dodge moves though without being locked on, so like I think I probably was doing what they were saying there anyways. I kind of feel like there might be an argument towards ignoring that suggestion. Let's see if maybe that attack would lead towards something else. The He-Ya attack obviously evolves into double dashes later. There's just no way you're going to do a charged attack here at this point. Honestly, there's nothing I can do otherwise at all. Like, if I was to run back to the overworld, could I get a Tsubaki Mark IV? Probably not. We can look at the map and see that there's nothing here. There's not any side jobs or anything else that I could do. And in this case, I guess the best thing I could probably do is just see how much damage she's doing with each hit. A lot of times it does seem like she just knocks you on the ground. Now what's interesting is you can't just stay on the ground. Like, I'm not even pressing any buttons right now and he hops up eventually. So you can't use that as a protection. You can use it maybe a little bit as a protection. Let's see. I'm trying to see if you could get any timed X counters. Doesn't seem like you can. You can get an extra swipe in there while she's kicking your butt, but they just have more health than you do. Now, arguably, if I was playing this on easy mode, then maybe there would be something more to that. Like, I'm just trying to randomize as many button presses as possible, high, low, A, B, X, Y, and none of that is hitting her. So, in that case, she did like a knee into me. And in her doing a knee to me, I was able to do 2 hits for like 1 hit that she did to me. Yep. And if there are tighter dodges that would lead to a slow time move, they've got to be just incredibly tight. Alright. See, by starting with that charged attack, that opens up a good starting point. I guess the question would come down to, is there possibly another point where a charged attack could be made? So yeah, she wants to do this charged attack on you. And I feel like maybe instead of dodging the charged attack, the trick is to dodge here on the first hit and try to attack at that point. I don't think knocking her into the edge is doing any damage to her. Because if that was the cheat, then that would be great, but it wouldn't really make a lot of sense. I'm going to switch to Y attacks here, and that got me a very quick middle section victory there. So yeah, the charged attack, charged X swiping attack, really works well here. I don't think I was fully charged up in that case, but that worked. She might end up somewhat near you when she does that charged attack, if you do 2 dodges. Yeah, I think she does kind of end up near you. Well, I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, but it does seem like we may have a chance of winning here. And I can't help but attribute a lot of that to the... Let's just run over here and break our stride a little bit and get some pizza. Wow. Well, she just took out 3 hits of damage anyways. The entire wall glitching out. Arguably, if she is in the... Alright. Yeah. I think we've got it. Now what would really, really suck here is if we had to fight somebody else. Like, I honestly think I've got just so much health that unless she pulls off some kind of instant kill maneuver, or I just can't get like one hit on her, I think I've got it. But I do have to get that hit. Could I get a charged attack? I guess is the question here. And we won on that fight. She punches me through the chest. I think I won there, though. And Shinobi comes back and saves the day.
Right.
Brother, please don't kill me.
Sorry, Jean. This hurts me too.
We're both in the same business after all. And I've had enough.
Time for you to rest, Jean.
Good night, Travis.
I hope your next dream is a more pleasant one.
Yep. Getting back to the violence gore, there's arguably not as much gore and violence as you might like for 10 different kills. You don't see 10 specific attacks. So now I'm a little confused as to whether Sylvia actually was Jean this whole time and Travis is just such an idiot that he didn't realize that. That's the problem with having 2 blonde girls in the game. It definitely feels like they probably animated Jean to look like Sylvia, and they were thinking right up to the last second that they might do that twist. But yeah, we saved Shinobi's life. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these characters somehow magically show up later in No More Heroes, because heck, it's very anime as a story anyway, so why not bring them back? Although each of those characters that we fought were visually interesting to see once, not particularly visually interesting to see twice, but it would allow you to tell more of a story and give more characterization, which desperately this game needed that, or this series needs that. It needs to stop being silly as much as it is and crazy as much as it is, and try to stay within the normal bounds of narration. So yeah, we get 350,000 for defeating Sylvia, and I guess technically we'll take the win for defeating the Dark Star, yet another character we didn't really get to fight. It would make a lot of sense after beating the game if you could actually fight those in some kind of tournament boss rush mode, and that they did have secret, like, super difficult fight mechanics, since that is what this game is selling itself on. I don't think I would enjoy that at this level of difficulty, but it would be the right thing to offer instead of doing a bait and switch, which is what they've done with several of the characters. It'd be also nice if you could get like 3D models of the characters just to see them more. So yeah, we got a clear time of like an hour, just under an hour, which gave us rank D, which is obviously the lowest rank, so you don't even get a rank F. We killed 11 enemies. We took 103 damage, which gives us rank B. We got a max chain of 3 and no 777s. That overall gives us 400,000 or so LBs. It's funny, it says LB and then $, like the US dollar. So, pounds, dollars. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense at all. I wonder if this menu wouldn't be so full of shades of red if I had done better. Or if storyline wise that always makes sense. So there's Sylvia. So she is around. She isn't your sister. Which that would have been kind of a funny twist. It's like, oh yeah, you were flirting with her and you were trying to sleep with her this whole time. But it turns out she actually is your half-sister. And then potentially she could even be into it after revealing that she was your half-sister, and then Travis could turn her down and go, I'm not sleeping with my half-sister, ooh, that's gross. And then that would be a funny, like, twist. You have this whole list of 10 other people now that you're at rank 1, and none of them seem like they're going to show up. None of them are getting names. There is a question as to why Henry was not allowed to fight you if there really is no association. Weirdly, it also becomes questionable why Sylvia would have you fight 9 other people if she was just building up to the point of you fighting your half-sister in the first place, unless she needed you to get stronger and was giving you challenges to get better and stronger anyways, which I can't really think Sylvia was thinking that much about it. For the Star Wars references in this game, there really should just be... He should talk about Star Wars a little bit more. Make some weird references. Like, oh, that's not much bigger than a womp rat hole, or whatever that phrase is in episode 3. Or, like, use the Force. Even very basic, obvious phrases that he could have used are not mentioned enough. Okay. So we save the game. We can view the ending and then view the real ending, or we can return to Stand and Destroy. Let's view the ending, I guess, first. There is still about 9 achievements in this game. Let's see where the ending takes us. You get to see him naked, although it doesn't really show anything.
Guy get some privacy? At least when he's taking a dump?
I'm afraid not. These fights don't work like that. It's time to die, Mr. First Rank.
You gotta be shitting me.
But yeah, that was pretty much all around the idea that was how that was going to go, is that you just have to defend your life for the rest of eternity once you get to first rank. It said written, directed, and I think maybe executive produced by Suda51, so all the bad parts of this game I really have to blame on Suda51 more than anybody else. There was a WADA character named right below that who is a producer, so arguably maybe WADA could have tried to argue with Suda51 some more to cut a lot of content and just make a smoother, more streamlined experience. Something with a better storyline by far. Saying there is any writing in this game is pretty ridiculous. Because there is barely any story at all. It would have been nice after killing each character if you found their journal on them and then you could read that journal, if that's just as far as you wanted to go with it. But yeah, I definitely would have gotten rid of the open world completely in favor of having each character have more of a backstory, having it feel like more of a tragic thing that these assassins exist in the first place, that they've had these hard lives of killing people over and over again, and it's worn them down and turned them into monsters who can only kill, which I think was the theme of what they were trying to go with. Whenever you see somebody named like Okama or Masked Day-O, these are fake names because either the person who worked on it didn't want to be credited, or very possibly the person who worked on it is just not getting credited, which happens a lot in video games, and so they're attributing it to someone else. I could see why you wouldn't want to be credited on this game. It is, for its time, pretty extreme of a game, pushing very far in a weird direction. Very different music playing here. Of course, a lot of these Japanese names could also be pseudonyms, and you just wouldn't know. Like, even the English names could be fake names. Oh, this is the karaoke that the first guy was singing. Yep. I don't know if there's much more to say here. I'm definitely not satisfied with this experience versus the first time I played it. It just doesn't stand up playing at a higher difficulty. And then the Switch version has more credits here than the original creators of the game were credited, although some of those names may be overlapping. You have Xseed and Marvelous working on the Switch port, and then putting just a lot more marketing and PR people as being listed for the Nintendo Switch version, which is weird you'd have the Nintendo Switch version credited in the first place, because this is obviously the Steam version, and they've ported a port from the Nintendo Switch version to Steam PC. Arguably, by using the engine software, they bet on the wrong horse, although if this game had been made in the Unreal Engine instead, it would have very easily, I suspect, been upgraded better to a smoother experience, a less crashy experience. Okay. Let's see what this is going to do. What is it going to directly push us into? Also, when you're in this load screen, there's like a bar of pixels right on the right that loads when it's black. So that might be a framing issue. So now you can play the game on bitter, although it would potentially make more sense to play it on sweet. You will only get the achievement for getting it on bitter if you play the game on bitter. You'll only get the achievement for doing all of the missions if you do the missions on sweet. And weirdly, well, you're only likely to get the missions if you play on sweet. And more than likely, you're going to have a hard time getting back to this main menu if you, based on whatever you pick here, because when you launch the game, it launches into the most recent save game, and there's no way to get back to this menu. But I think for YouTube content reason, we'll choose sweet. And we're just gonna have to figure out some stuff here. Like, walk down here to our motorcycle. And I don't think we can skip anything here. Yeah. You can't skip anything, so. We do have our sword. And we just have to play a second time. Our strength is at the highest rank here. And I don't think there's a way to take a break or exit or anything like that, so I will just leave it at that for the moment. One hit hits these guys and kills them. And very likely these guys will not even attack you or be able to attack you. There's no collectible cube that way. Hitting start twice seems to work well, and definitely no reason to wear out your fingers with the spin attacks. So I'm just very slowly spinning there, and that's working. Playing on sweet mode, you will get a lot more combos and they will do a lot less damage, so it would make a lot of sense to move forward. Card number 51 has just been collected, which, okay, that then opens up a doorway towards there being twice as many cards as I thought there were. That gave me an achievement for gotta collect them all though. So I guess they are just really interested in screwing over players that wouldn't have chosen to play a second time. Card number 52. I don't have any, like, I don't have any battery need because I have the infinite battery. So unless they gave me a new weapon that does more damage and then went back to the battery mechanic. I don't like the battery mechanic in this game anyways. It's just an extra, like, we're going to give you a shield to prevent you from taking some damage but not all damage. That is kind of like a regenerative shield, but you need extra. It's reminiscent of having like armor in the original Doom games on top of having health. Let's see. And yeah, I'm gonna just have to run through this whole section as fast as possible to A, show that it's not really going to be that fast, and B, show that this is what the experience would be on a second playthrough if you did things really weird like me and went to the easier difficulty after doing the normal difficulty. The real move obviously would have been to play on sweet first and then play on bitter second, if you even need to go that far. Like, if you need to go further, you'd play on mild or whatever the medium difficulty would have been. But unless it becomes a case where trading card 136, oh man, that's an insane number at that point. It seems like we're just getting random numbers or random trading cards. We just have to wait until they spawn in, and that could be certainly a problem too. That's the first guy to not die in the first couple of hits. It's really just insanity though that 54. It's just craziness that you would want the players to play this game multiple times. I guess this lady, let's see, I guess I can't show it, can I? That lady in the lingerie, I feel like her outfit is more revealing than the sister's outfit really was. And in the reality, when you just step it back and get away from the hysteria of scantily clad characters being in a video game, it is just like bikini outfits that were shown here. Nothing that you wouldn't see on an average beach anyways. This is probably a great example of where the game would be better off if it did we get everybody? Yeah, we did. For as much violence is in this game otherwise, it would make a lot more sense if there was some toplessness and nudity for as much gore as there is. Yeah. But see, I can't put the camera away to really look at this picture. That's one of the few nice pictures in the whole game. There's a lot of other pictures here that I guess maybe references to places they wanted you to visit later on in the game. Some of them kind of look a little familiar. Almost feels like there would be a secret room there. But yeah, most of these paintings are just nothing. And then there's room for secrets here, and in those secrets we didn't find anything. Maybe there was a treasure chest there in the first playthrough. This is kind of a nice looking area, but you never really see anything like this as far as this crosswalk path. And this could have been like the castle at the end of the game that they were implying you would end up at. Because Darkstar did say, "Welcome to my castle," and then you really didn't end up at a castle. I'll show it this time. I'll answer the phone and I'll walk forward and try and cut her off.
Win, and you will be tenth. Lose, and hell awaits.
If you walk fast straight, since it's at 1 speed, you're probably going to
Do it now. Your opponent,
cut her off.
call him the Holy Sword. He is good, but I know you can take it. You are the man. I am the tiger. He only looks tough because his mother was an ugly bitch. Take it to the red zone. Assassin's Way at full throttle. Unleash your power. Show no mercy. Bring me.
It's possible you just wouldn't have to hit a button anyways.
You are prepared to fight. I believe in you and your force. Now, off to the Garden of Madness.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if I cut her off there or I didn't. It didn't. Kind of seems like I did, but I'm not 100% certain on that. There's no wrestling move mask there. Do we need to watch this cutscene a second time? Not really. Probably be easier just to skip this and jump into the fight. But I do want to point out, like, you have a nice little mansion here, nice ocean. They don't do anything with it. This character is kind of cool looking, but he disappears. He's a freak with a bunch of piercings and tattoos. Alright, let's go ahead and skip. Alright, so we get a clash there in which we fail miserably. He wants a different kind of wrestling move on him. But yeah, you can see how your dodge is super easy at this point. How he's at half heart health right now. He's getting dizzy way faster. So this is the experience I am way more familiar with as far as the No More Heroes game that I played on the Wii, is playing this super easy, super fast experience. Yep. This game does a pretty good job of establishing the parts it wants to highlight. A lot of blood, a lot of gore, a lot of titillation. Not real nudity or sex. We're in our custom outfit. In the Japanese version of this, I imagine the blood was black. Yeah, and with that, we have proven that there is an S rank, and you get it for beating it in less than 14 minutes at least. I killed 62 enemies, which gave me a decent amount of money. You really are only getting 10,000 LBs for S rank. Damage taken was only 17. That also gave me an S rank. And a max chain of 15 gave me some money. No 777s this time. We have a massive amount of money. I don't know if there's actually an achievement for getting S rank in all the boss fights. That would be a little crazy and difficult. I just think you get more money because of that. Noticeably here, there is no health upgrade. There are just invisible walls kind of everywhere. Yeah, this would have been a place that it would have been kind of nice to redo some boss fights here, have people jumping out of the pool attacking you, but I bet the water texture simply cannot be easily displayed when you have more characters fighting around here. You could have just had some boss fights here. So yeah, no health upgrade, so you're not going to get that as a benefit.
Nice kill, Travis. I didn't think you had it in
I don't think we need to watch this cutscene again, so we'll just skip it. Yeah. So it takes obviously a little while to get back into where you'd want to get back into. And this will be the first time and probably only time I'll save. We'll just overwrite this one. And we can see that is now S for sweet instead of M for mild. It's actually a little surprising that you don't get to see Travis's butt at some point in this game.
Am I ready? Anytime. Gotcha.
Do we really need to watch this cutscene multiple times? What's funny is he put on a pink shirt at that in that animation, but it turned into a red shirt. Alright. So, closet-wise, let's see. Where are we now? We have more than, I imagine, enough to potentially enter the next round immediately. Interesting. So we started the game with 001, and now we have 000, which gives you a tattoo. So we unlock that. It's possible that there are more t-shirts in the overworld, and we're going to have to investigate that, aren't we? There isn't a 100 that's being shown. Everything is going to fairly suck, though. You have to admit, playing this way is just not going to really work for anything, because it'll just be too easy as you make a mad dash through the game a second time for just to get like easy challenges, and then it's going to become super hard if you tried to beat it on bitter. And I guess in the world, if I had infinite time, I might be tempted to do that, but in the real world, where I don't have infinite time or infinite even stamina or mental energy, I would never do that. This did carry over all the gold missions, so yes, I could try to get all the other achievements, but you still would need that one last achievement of beating the game on bitter to potentially get all of the achievements, because there is also an achievement for getting all the other achievements, which that's kind of crazy that it works that way, that there are achievements that you get for getting all the other achievements in the game. I don't think you get anything new with Gene the Cat. I would be super surprised if it turned out that there was a new animation there. There's a lot of clipping that happens on that animation. Anyways, your hand and glove went through the cat, and your weapon was going through the sofa. Okay. So, I guess as it worked, you, in the first playthrough, got the last of the masks, and now we're starting to get concept art by playing the game a second time, and potentially I'm getting some weird concept art in the sense that there was only 4 of these. Can't zoom in on those. Yeah, 4 concept art pieces here, and this just goes up to a very high number for 136. You can zoom in and scroll, but you can't spin on that. And that brings us up to 150, so yeah, instead of potentially finding trading t-shirts in the dumpsters, I wouldn't be surprised if we start finding trading cards in the dumpsters. You have enough money just to enter the tournament at this moment. And I guess I'm just not at a point where I still can get to the open world. So, skip, and see where this takes us. Alright, well, that took us to K Entertainment, which is fine. It at least got us into the open world. Our sensei is still alive. There's no extra training that can be done at the moment. But it does feel like strength can be upgraded somehow. I guess the question would be, are we supposed to get all the Levikov balls again? I guess you are. So the game could totally encourage you to get all the Levikov balls a second time and enjoy that collectibles, those collectibles for whatever they're worth. That they really are just going to make you do everything a second time. Well, not everything. The trash bins are all open. So that means there's probably just more trading cards somewhere else. Maybe there are trading cards where the Levikov balls are.
How's business?
Is there anything new here? Nope, not a single new thing at the store. So you're not getting a lot of extra work out of this. Or, yeah, you're not getting a lot of extra value out of playing this game a second time. Maybe it would make a lot more sense if you made less money playing on easy than playing on mild. But instead you get less money playing on mild. So
it's you again.
You basically have to play the game on sweet. If there is a new model weapon, it's not obviously going to unlock for a while. Right, possibly not unlock. At all. It may be that there's a weapon you get when you beat the game. Let me just check something. It would be really crazy if the world was bigger now. The open world was just like a lot bigger. There is something weird here. There were not that many Levikov balls in the open field. I'm certain of that. So they put them in a second place. To have this many collectibles in the New Game Plus scenario does really scream that there was some kind of commitment to the publisher or people funding this game in some way to have a certain number of collectibles. You don't get a nice round number of 150 when there were 50 trading cards to begin with for no reason. Alright, well. Where is it? That is not the button I meant to press, but whatever. He's gonna leave it on the street way over there in the corner. hurt me. Yep. Lovikov balls must either be on the other side of that fence or for some real reason invisible. And we'll find out the answer fairly quickly just by going this way and checking it out. These might be ground penetrating collectibles. Yep, they are in the ground and they are trading cards. So there is just a ridiculous amount of extra collectibles that can happen here. And this system still just does not really work in that you have to be pixel perfect on the spot you're stabbing. Like, I'm feeling vibrations on the controller and then I'm hitting the button and he's taking like 2 steps every time I nudge, which I think is part of the problem. So or it could just be that it is very much just that pixel off. There we go. So yeah, obviously though that would be a nightmare to have to deal with. There's some other things. Guess I could kind of jump over those short fences. Some other things I want to check out here and just kind of show off as far as how much easier mode on a New Game Plus would be. That was open. Yeah. Should have taken the motorcycle, but didn't want to. It's doubtful that the prices will have changed at all at Area 51.
Come on in, brother. Take a good look around.
No new sunglasses to buy. I could buy jackets. There are a whole new collection of t-shirts, so we do know that goes into the 100s. It's still crazy stuff. Silver Incident 01 Orange may be related to the first game Grasshopper manufacturer made. Which was a visual novel. FSR, I don't even know what that is. 2002 Christmas version. Just a ridiculous amount of t-shirts to waste more money on. Which I guess that does give you something to do with your money as far as the game, but they are also getting crazy in that they are just giving you the same t-shirt in multiple colors, where arguably you should just be able to dye the color of the t-shirts different colors for free. More Silver Incident 25th section, which, yeah, I don't really know what any of that is about. We have Grasshopper manufacturer logos. I assume all the t-shirts, more t-shirts would unlock as you went further through the game. Just like ridiculously expensive stuff still to buy. You can waste a bunch of money on if you're going to continue to play the game. But not so much of a reason to play, to purchase all of that. I don't think that there's really even an achievement around doing all of the purchasing everything. And none of it really matters if you can't beat the game on bidder. That's going to be the first and foremost, most important thing. Interesting, you have this like pink alcove to a door, and that was not used, and that didn't mean anything. The thing I want to test out is we had this free fight where people would shoot you. Actually, it was an assassination mission, wasn't it? Yeah, I don't know which free fight I could go to that would have somebody shoot me. Because that's the thing I wanted to see or show off. Like, pretty obviously, yes, these guys are going to be easy fights, although you could still very much be sore from the spinning and fighting, and there I managed to take damage regardless, so yeah. Even if we were going to try and do all these missions, you still may not get gold with them. Okay. Is there anything else worth looking at? We're just trying to get a general idea of where we are. Zoom in some more. Just see that there's a bunch of trading cards to collect. It definitely makes this more used of an area in the second playthrough, but really they should have probably combined the second playthrough with the first playthrough and said you were halfway through the game once you finished the story. Now beat it on a harder difficulty with a lot of the extra content skipped. Yeah, there's nothing more to show at this point, so... Oh, and I did have the sound effects turned down. I don't know why it got turned down again. Let's just leave it at that, though. We've had the sound effects turned down this whole time. It's not been a big deal to me, at least. Let's now load the data of this clear save file. And hope that this lets us do the thing I want to do. No. Alright, well that puts us in a weird position, and I can't even get to the, to the menu at this point. He's whistling the theme song, by the way. So yeah, you start the game on bidder, and I guess we can probably get a general idea of just showing how much more difficult it would be to play on bidder. Yeah. and how you're just not really going to get any kind of like other upgrade. These guys are taking 2 hits instead of dying on 1, so there's not much of a difference there, but definitely some difference. Okay, well, let's load this one and hope that this is past the boss fight. Okay, good. Let's show off the real ending. Now, if I recall correctly, the real ending here is we fight Henry. He has this weird book in his pants, but you can't even see it. It says like Jupiter or something.
You gotta be shitting me. Will you hurry up with that? I'll be outside. That was close. Thanks. Ugh, what an idiot. You're a disgrace to yourself and all those you've killed.
Okay, so now this is going to be one more fight. We know that he's going to fight much like you and just be kind of a cooler character. Got a couple of hits off on him. Ideally, we could do wrestling moves here if he gets dizzy enough. So one more fight in the parking lot. Pretty much impossible to win the spinning thing. You have to move really fast. Remember, I'm playing this on normal difficulty as far as the fight goes. So yeah, there is going to be more of a challenge than, say, if you were going to get this true ending on playing on the harder difficulties. Although I don't know if you really do get true ending if you played it on just the easy mode. I don't believe there's any other extra, like the real ending or anything by beating it on bitter. There might be some kind of extra cutscene. I'm not sure how many people would have ever even seen it though. That is a crazy ranged attack. You can see my health is not doing great here, and his health is at like the halfway point. It would make a little bit more sense for Henry to be introduced as your main protagonist for a sequel. And so maybe, I mean, you could certainly hope that you would only have to get him to like halfway his health. Yeah. The problem certainly though with the charged attack, even if you have infinite health, is you're only going to get a couple of hits. And if you didn't have infinite energy here, you wouldn't have a chance of survival. Do I have any health or anything? No, there's an invisible wall there. So, yeah. His attacks are getting stronger and harder to dodge. I don't even know how you're supposed to really dodge that. I can only assume the trick is to dodge, and then backflip. The charged attacks definitely are wrapping him up in a mode that is breaking his attacks, which makes him easier than like Bad Girl, where her attacks were way harder to dodge. If you have to do a charged attack from a far distance to just benefit yourself and like keep yourself from dying, you do have a good jump there, but no, with enough charged attacks, we win there. Hey, there's a cat in the background.
Damn it! That all you got, Travis? Don't make me laugh. Mind if I ask you something? Sure. Why the hell do you call me Travis? Travis, like you're my friend or something. Who the fuck do you think you are?
You can't be serious. All this time you didn't realize.
What are you talking about?
I'm your twin brother.
What the
Twin
hell?
brother?
That's the craziest shit I've ever heard. Why would you bring up something like that at the very last minute of the game?
I would have thought you as a player would have at least expected a twist of fate of some kind.
What? And hey, where's Sylvia anyway? She disappeared without a trace. Where the hell is she?
You mean my wife?
What? Why?
Yes, you know. Spouse, soulmate, Henry's wife. Get the idea?
When did you two get married?
Oh, about 10 years ago. Yeah, that's right. Because we were both in college at the time.
Oh, shit! All news to me. I'm gonna need shock treatment to get over this one.
I'm sorry for all the trouble my wife has caused you. Forgive her.
That would explain why she stopped the fight.
Right, but it helped me clear up a lot of things.
Ah, you know how women are.
Sorry about the
Especially
subtitles
my
not
wife,
being on.
a really big
That's a
spender.
glitch.
Yeah, she knew my income wasn't enough, so every now and then she'd just disappear.
She's a bad wife, but a good woman.
What? Are you telling me that you and her...
Oh, come on.
Travis, my brother. We're similar in many ways.
You're right. Suddenly you being my brother doesn't sound so awkward.
They look nothing alike.
How do you plan to put an end to all of this?
Wait a sec. You want me to tie up all these loose ends? I don't think so. You're the protagonist. I'm just a cool, handsome foil who happens to be your twin brother. Hate to say it, but it's your job. I want to bail, but where the hell's the exit? Oh. There's no way out, is there? No getting out, right, bro? That's right. All we can do is keep running. Then let's find that exit they call paradise. Let's go!
And so that's the true ending, is that, oh, Sylvia is actually the wife of your twin brother Henry, which they probably have to retcon that or do something with it, certainly, in the sequel. Assuming the sequel continues the story at all. The entire story falls apart and they know they're in a video game and they break the fourth wall. If they were going to do fourth wall breaking jokes, they really should have done it at the beginning of the game to at least establish it and then return to that idea at the end after many hours and the player would have forgotten. Henry obviously is more of a cooler looking British dude compared to Travis Touchdown, who's, I guess, being depicted as a loser, otaku, dopey guy. Although, honestly, I think they both kind of look pretty cool for video game protagonist type characters. We're getting very different credits now. It definitely feels like this would have been content that they would have almost not gotten into the game, but I do think the true ending was in the Wii version. But noticeably here, they didn't make you collect any trading cards, they didn't make you fight any new collection of minions or go to a new location to fight him. It was just a good old-fashioned fight in a square arena outside of your motel. I lucked out quite a bit by being able to beat that on the first try, because that certainly could have been a nightmare, and we are going along in this episode, but not as long as some of these final episodes could go. Yeah. And I don't want to skip this. It's funny, the sound effects seems to affect the voice sounds too, when sound effects really should be a volume slider to exclusively only affect the clashing of weapons and things like that that could have gotten a little annoying. So yeah, I still am not sure what friendship casting is about as an idea. These do look like these are the same credits. It would be weird if they were different credits, but that might explain why we're getting the Nintendo Switch credits on the regular ending. Arguably, it's important to mention Travis Strikes Back as a side game in the series that everybody hated and was just really panned critically when it came out, because it was this top-down game with a collection of mini games, but and I guess we're getting different music in this credits than what we got in the first credits. But yeah, the fact that arguably there wasn't enough critical panning of the side projects in this first game somehow emboldened Suda51 or Grasshopper Manufacturer to make Travis Strikes Again. Or maybe it was more of a case that all the side projects that would have ended up in No More Heroes 3 got put in Travis Strikes Back, because people really did like No More Heroes 3, critically speaking. And as far as what I recall, it's been a while since that game came out, and so maybe they just split the baby and put content that they would have left on the cutting room floor as a side game, which is not still the right way to do business. If it's a bad experience, it should just not be released, not sold as a side game. But yeah, also, it's very possible that these side projects were fairly critically panned. I kind of think they were when this game came out, and Suda51 just didn't really listen to it.
Painting, don't you? Let's go, Jean.
So there's Sylvia with kind of white hair saying, "Let's go, Jean," the little sister that you fight at the end as a little girl. So
I know. Too bad there won't be a sequel.
I don't know why they teased that there wouldn't be a sequel when eventually there was a sequel. But I bet I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't expect there to be a sequel. No More Heroes did get more success than it probably would have gotten had it been not exclusive to the Wii and just timed very luckily when it was released, where the Wii was super popular. Back to the Future to be continued. So I guess what you have to take from that is that the let's see. Yeah, we can overwrite this one. The general idea would be that Jean was just dreaming up the entire events of this game as a little girl and seeing herself as the final person to fight. Which, that doesn't make any sense, really. If there's a if there's a little girl that's into moe and as much violence and gore and stuff that you see in No More Heroes, and she's just dreaming all of that, that would be kind of crazy. So yeah, this is just Suda51 basically stealing endings to other things and making references to other things and just being silly and crazy. And almost certainly they're gonna have to retcon and take back some of the silly and craziness in No More Heroes 2. Let's see. We have no reason to watch this trailer.
I know a lot of gamers out there don't have much patience. At least that's what Bishop, the dude at the video store, said.
Yeah. You only get his name at the beginning here. Alright, well, that's going to be it for this series. If I went crazy, maybe I would play the game more on Sweet. But honestly, I don't know if there really is a reason to even rush through the game on Sweet to potentially upgrade a weapon or two to then just have to play the game on bitter. If I just absolutely felt I deserved the achievements, I would probably use Cheat Engine to beat the game on bitter and just give myself infinite health. And if I'm cheating, then I don't deserve the achievements, obviously. This game has a lot of problems on the PC version. I cannot recommend it playing it on the PC version. Try the Switch version. Find a used copy of the Wii version, if anything, and that'll do you best. Playing it on the Wii is certainly going to be the best experience. Arguably, though, you could probably have a much better experience if you played it on easy first. The game just really shouldn't have let you play it on medium. But yeah, this game also is kind of buggy and needs patches. It just has a lot of problems. And it's a shame that I had such a bad experience with the game, particularly when I really, really enjoyed this game the first time I played it. And honestly, beating the game right now, I'm kind of on a high where I still like No More Heroes and like the experience that I'm having at the moment. But I cannot turn a blind eye a second time in my life to the fact that there's some major, major problems with this game, in that you don't really fight 10 enemies, that you don't really learn how to be a better hack and slash game player throughout the process, and you just really are going to struggle. And then there's a lot of extra stuff that it's going to demand of you as far as the assassination gigs and the side jobs and all of that it's just not necessary or good. Yeah, they definitely should remake this game, make it super short, just fight the 10 enemies. That's it. We don't need to fight the minions. We don't need to collect money. We don't need to collect trading cards. All of that could be removed. Arguably, maybe there is like a tool-assisted speedrun that could be made for a game like this, where it would turn the entire game into a movie, and it probably would look better and play better as a movie instead of seeing the game overs over and over again, particularly with Bad Girl, which, if you were going to give me something challenging, it really needed to be like the second character, not the second to last character. But yeah, honestly, all of No More Heroes 1, probably best if it had just been done as an anime. But then it would have needed a lot more writing. And if this game was to be remade, that's definitely what I would be looking for, is a lot better writing and a lot more writing. You have the major twists and the major plot points that are revealed at the end. Those obviously are important things that you should have built up to, but thematically you should have just given more backstory and more of a theme in general, of desperation more than anything, that around all of the other characters that you were fighting. You don't even really know why Shinobi saved you, other than you didn't kill her at the beginning of the game, and that's about it. For the few praises I can say for this game, as far as pushing the level of being extreme and violent, and also being kind of fairly equal, in that the final boss you fight is a lady, that about half of the women you fight are ladies. Maybe most of them are in scantily clad clothing, sure, but some of the guys are definitely shirtless and scantily clad or ridiculous clothing also, so that seems just to be the way the game went. And it did push the direction a lot further. I've been going through a series here of what would be the word, subversive themes in games, or games trying to be subversive, in playing Killer 7, which obviously pushed the idea of keep on skipping this. I should just hit A, choose bitter, and just get to this point, and then it would be fine. Yeah. So like Killer 7 obviously pushed the idea of what could be on a PS1 or PS2, whatever console it was originally released on, as being fairly bloody and brutal, and having a dark storyline, trying to tell a adult conspiracy storyline, until they abandoned that at the end of Killer 7 and just admitted they didn't know what they were talking about, and they really weren't trying to tell any kind of cohesive story. But there is definitely some violence and implication in there. Killer 7 actually pushes the envelope more than this game does years later. In the Killer 7 is got like child abduction, organ harvesting, child prostitution, elderly abuse, both physical and sexual, are all things that are talked about or shown in Killer 7, whereas none of these assassins seem to be really doing anything worse than just killing people in this game. So it sticks to just assassinations in No More Heroes. Then I tried to play a game called Yeti, which was basically just a Metroidvania game that had a robot character with a big butt, and the camera was ogling her the whole time. Unfortunately, the problem with Yeti, where I did make it all the way to the ending of Killer 7 and No More Heroes, Yeti was just an incredibly bad experience, in that it had no checkpoints and it had a limited number of hard saves. So anytime you would fall off an edge and die, which was fairly frequently, you lost a lot of progress. And to defeat any of the enemies in Yeti, you had to have a lot of bullets, and the game was severely limited in bullets. It was somewhat reminiscent of playing something like Resident Evil 1, but if you were playing Resident Evil 1 with just an inappropriately small amount of resources. So selling your game as super hard, like Haiti did, and also selling it on a robot with a big butt that the camera was going to ogle the whole time. Didn't work out as the best combination, certainly. And noticeably, No More Heroes also didn't really work out as a super hard game, or even a medium hard difficulty game. At this point, I don't think there are any more subversive games I want to play. I've played too many in a row. It's time to try a different theme, play something that's maybe a little bit more family friendly. At some point, if my channel ever actually became monetized on YouTube, this may very well be a block of content that does not get monetized, and so I should move on to something else. And potentially my channel might not get monetized at all if I kept on just playing games like this. As far as subversive content, there are still a lot of games that I would like to play. Video games in general do tend to be pretty edgy, but yeah, every now and then I like to play a Lego game and a kids game too, and switch it up. And that's what I think I'm in the mood for now. I'll have to check to see if I actually even own No More Heroes 2, but it'll probably be 6 months to a year before I'd even start to think about playing that. And that is kind of not even worth mentioning, so we need to wrap up here. I will say on my YouTube channel I have a playlist for every game I've covered, so if you like subversive games, check out the Binding of Isaac playthrough. Perhaps skip the first Binding of Isaac first 100 episodes or so. That was the very first game I ever played on my channel many years ago, and it was very long playthroughs of me rambling and just talking in a very different style, less focused on the gameplay than what I usually do nowadays. But Binding of Isaac Rebirth, in contrast, was the remake of that game, or remaster of the game, and that's where I'd say check that out. And the Darksiders series, Darksiders 1 and 2, are somewhat edgy and maybe not that subversive. Bayonetta, I'd say definitely check that out. I am eagerly waiting for Lollipop Chainsaw. I will run out fairly quickly as far as subversive games, though. And then there is definitely a question about what games would actually fall into the category of what you might say are subversive or edgy versus what are just standard video games these days. Something like Gears of War, for instance, probably would not be described as subversive by me, even though it is big burly men with machine guns that has a decent amount of gore and cussing. I just don't think that pushes the envelope enough when this standard for most first-person militaristic first-person shooters is to have a lot of bullets flying and a lot of death. Death alone doesn't push it far enough. It has to be gore. It has to have some adult themes at the very least. Ideally, I would like to see more adult games made, things that are just totally willing to be even rated adult only. I do keep an eye on what kind of adult games are released on Steam in their adult section, which is hidden to most. And a lot of the quality on those games is pretty bad, but every now and then you do see something where it feels like they actually are trying to make a game versus most of the adult games on Steam just trying to show you some explicit images and nothing else, and give you a generic slide puzzle, something super simplistic. Honestly, if we could just take the next step, even in this game, if we could have just taken the next step where we would have seen a boob or an exposed butt or even lower genitalia of either gender, just one boob in a movie, one boob in a game, really should not push something up according to an adults only rating or an unsellable rating. And yet that very much seems like that's the case for the ESRB and games in general being depicted and sold, is that even one boob is one boob too many, and that's silly. video gamers are pretty old now. The average gamer is in their 30s. But yeah, I'm kind of rambling here. That's going to be it for this series. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos, because that helps me with YouTube and makes the videos be recommended more. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a link to several social media sites in the description. There's also a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wish list if you want to support me even further. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.